Guys, my name is Charles Sina, CEO of Anti-Fragility Health. So we're taking a step away from our very amazing series. Some of you are too excited about it, and some of you are getting bored already. So I thought, let me step away from it and talk about something that's very important and very timely and very relevant. And that is antibody testing considerations. It's really important that in this time, as we have people in different states, people who are asymptomatic, people who are symptomatic, people who have been vaccinated first dose, and people who've been vaccinated second dose. So we now have a collection of people responding to both the flu, the COVID, and all the things that are impacting our immune system. This conversation is not about COVID, it is about antibody testing. And what does antibody testing cover? So we're going to start with a demonstration of testing for antibodies. And so the product that we have using for our antibody testing, it has an FDA EUA biocredit. It's for COVID-19 IgG and IgM combo. So it's testing for both. This product has EUA approval, and it's a rapid test, and the results typically available between 15 to 20 minutes. So we're gonna do a sample process. My clinicians are gonna come up. We're gonna test. Both of them have been vaccinated, and they are both wearing masks and very protected, but I have to speak to you so that you can hear me. That's why I'm not wearing a mask. I apologize if you're offended by that, but I'm sorry, my voice is much more sexier when I'm wearing a mask, and I don't want to distract you. So, okay, so Ellie, come up, let me introduce you. So Ellie is our testing nurse. She's going to be conducting the test. Ellie has done more than thousands of testing for both antibody and for COVID, for antigen. So typically we do two testings in our clinic. We do antigen testing, which is the test to see if you have an infection, an active infection, and we do the antibody test to see if your body has responded with the underlying antibodies that we talk about. So we're going to introduce, again, Ellie has been vaccinated, both vaccinations or just one?
Just one dose.
Okay, so you've taken the first dose, the Pfizer vaccine, right? So Ellie has taken one dose, the Pfizer vaccine, and our patient for today for the testing is Dinah. Dinah has also been vaccinated once, the Pfizer dose. So Dinah is going to be tested for antibodies, right? Dinah is going to be tested for antibodies, and we are hoping that Dinah shows antibodies.
Yes.
Well, what happens if Dinah doesn't have antibodies? Then Dinah has to hurry and get the second dose, right? All right, so why don't you show us how you do it? So Dinah is sitting now, and don't forget that the antibody test is a blood test. The antigen test is a swab, where you swab deep into the nose to get to that place where at the end of it. So there's gonna prick her finger, and we're gonna collect the blood sample, and you're gonna watch Ellie do that. Ellie already has opened the test kit. That's how the test kit looks like, and she's gonna show you the whole process. So she's gonna prick now. If she pricked already, she will take some of the blood sample. She's pressing the finger to get the blood sample. So she puts the blood sample in the kit. She's drawing about 2 or 3 drops. Now, she then takes care of the patient, puts some tissue there so they can hold that and stop the bleeding. And then now she takes the preparation that she puts on the blood in the kit. And now we go into the stirring. You stir, or you just watch now and wait?
Just watch.
All right, so thank you guys. So now that they are waiting, we want to talk about why this test is a critical test. Again, let's go back. We're testing for two kinds of immunoglobulins. Immunoglobulins are the proteins that are released by the immune system to fight and defend us against any kind of viruses or bacteria. So let us look at the overall timeline for how an infection would work. So we are looking at the level of antibodies, and we are looking at the days after symptoms show. So for people who are asymptomatic, they may still build antibodies with just little symptoms. And some of those symptoms, sometimes we have just a slight headache or a slight loss of taste, or we just feel sick a bit or congested a bit, and that. So those are still symptoms that are really very critical. So the timeline here starts from -14. So we are saying that the period for incubation of the virus or the bacteria or whatever the viral infection is about 14 days. And then we are using the fever as the key measure for that. And the first line that develops on the graph, that is the line for the IgM. That's for the IgM, is the first antibody that is part of our first response. And the IgG is part of the second response. So typically, what we are recommending is that you should be testing anytime after 7 days of the infection or of the vaccination. So 7 days after your vaccine, because the vaccine is emulating an infection. And so some people will get fever and other things after the vaccine, because that is what the vaccine is supposed to stimulate. It's stimulating an infection. So testing for antibodies after 7 days would then show us, if you test within 7 days, and this is not like precise, it's different for different people, most of the immunoglobulins that we are going to notice are going to be IgM. If we test after between 7 and 28 days, we are going to be seeing both IgM and IgG. So the lines on the test are going to show both. And if it's more than 28 days after the vaccination or the infection, we'll be seeing mostly IgG, which is the longer term adaptive response of our immune system. So it's very important you understand that. So the question is, why should everyone do antibody testing? So for example, the serum, which is the blood sample, typically would contain antibodies, because whether you're symptomatic or not, the body's defenses are in a fight. So whether you're vaccinated or not, whether you're symptomatic or not, it is important that you check for antibodies. Antibodies are the proof that the body has built the required response for defense. So it's a very important marker and demonstration for that. The question we do not know, there are lots of questions we don't know. What about people who get vaccinated and don't develop the antibodies? Do they have protection? We don't know. Secondly, how long does the protection last? We do not know. So the only thing that you're only going to know are two big things. Two big things. Number one, you should test regularly for antibodies. At least once or twice, once every month, or once every 2 months, or once every 3 months. You should test to make sure that your antibody levels are there. Number two, you must build your immune defenses. You must build your immune defenses. So we're saying that you need both protections. You cannot just rely on the body producing the immunoglobulins. Those immunoglobulins are proteins. Proteins are generated in the body from amino acids. Those are nutrients. So those nutrients are necessary for the building of the immune system. So if you don't have nutrients, the body cannot build the required lasting supply of immunoglobulins. So your macronutrients and your micronutrients are critical components in ensuring that the body continues to build and respond to continuous attack, because we do not know with the virus and the bacteria, as we now are finding out, some of the COVID patients are dying from pneumonia. So when you have been attacked by the virus for a sustained period and your immune system is weakened, then the bacterial attack steps in. So it's really important that we understand what the immune cells, the lymphocytes, and the bacilli, all the cells that are part of our immune system, we must understand that they need nutrients to sustain the fight. Those nutrients come from macro and micro. And in the micro component, we all understand what those things are that support as cofactors in the production of the immunoglobulins. Vitamin C, vitamin D3, vitamin A, selenium, zinc, copper. All those minerals are critical in ensuring to support the immunoglobulins in the fight to defeat the virus or the bacteria. So, number one, again, before we look at the test results, it looks like the test results are coming out. Number one, testing frequency is very important to assure you of your level of antibodies and the type of antibodies your body has produced, and therefore promising that you have and your body is responding appropriately to either the vaccine or the infection that you did get. Number two, your immune system is being depleted in the fight. The cells that are fighting are dying in the process. Therefore, we need continuous nutrients to support the body to build the proteins that support the immune system. So it is really critical that you have those two strategies in place. One, the testing to ensure what your levels are rather than stress and worry. And number two, that you're giving your body the nutrients to support the immune architecture. So Ellie is going to step up now and see what the results are saying. Are we ready for interpretation, or we need to wait a bit?
Yeah, we are ready. So there are 3 lines.
Yes.
The first one is control.
Okay, the first line, there are 3 lines in the kit. So show it to the camera so they can see the 3 lines. So the first line is the control, right? Then what is the control saying right now?
It is like there's a red line. It means this test is valid.
All right. So if there is a line, it means the test is valid.
Yes.
And what else is it showing?
And then we do have like line on the M
Yes.
and G, both.
So we have both lines. So it means that how many days since vaccination are you, Dinah?
8. Sorry.
How many days since vaccination?
8 days.
8 days. So Dinah is 8 days since vaccination, and Dinah is already showing both IgM and IgG, right? That's really important. She's showing that her body actually is building the immunoglobulins for the fight. So thank you guys, appreciate that. So really important that you understand why this test is important. Last week we tested Ellie, and Ellie was showing both IgG and IgM, or just IgG?
Just M.
Just IgM.
Yes.
So you were showing just that it was in the early days of your response.
Yes.
And we tested some other people downstairs and they were showing just IgG, right? So it depends. So where you are in this picture IgG is the long-term antibody defense. IgG is when your body is in that response phase where it's built the first response with the IgM and it's building the second response, which is the adaptive response for the long term. And just IgM is immediately when your body is still in the infected state and your body is building its response. So it's very important. And most people in this phase will be symptomatic. They still have muscle pain, they have fever, and they have a lot of the reactions. So join us at our clinic for this testing. And if you do have any questions, submit those questions online. It is really critical, and I'm going to summarize again, that you do two things. Number one, you must test regularly for antibodies. We do not know when all the right doses and the dosing frequency for the vaccination, it's not being worked out. So for your personal protection, it is important that you determine where your levels are. Number two, how do you increase those levels? By ensuring that you provide the nutrients that the body requires for the appropriate response. And we know that we are now using the serum from people who have these antibodies already to treat other people whose responses are not as strong. That's another therapy we're using for COVID-19. So thank you for joining us this afternoon, this morning in Los Angeles area. Thank you for joining us. We're on the West Coast. We love you. Like us, love us. We are running live on YouTube and on Facebook. If you have any questions about antibodies and the testing, do send those questions, or you can come visit our clinic and get the test for yourself. Or you could look for testing centers that are testing using FDA authorized EUAs for the serology testing. Serology testing is serum testing where we're using the blood for that testing. Thank you and have a wonderful Saturday.